You are listening to the Primitive Intelligence Podcast, episode 611, The Mandela Effect. Is reality rewriting itself? Now, before we get into this, if there's Mandela effects I don't cover in this that you want to hear me talk about, shoot me an email at podcast@primitiveintelligence.com. I love your guys' feedback. I'll look into them. There's so many of them. I go over a bunch of them here. I've gone over a couple in another episode. So this is going to be a fun episode. I apologize for this being late. That's not a Mandela effect. It's not, you didn't think that these release on Wednesday and it actually comes out on Thursday. I recorded episode 611 and it was so jacked up. The audio, I don't know what happened. The audio was all messed up. There was skips and I couldn't fix it. So I didn't have time to re-record it yesterday and get it out on time. So I figured I'll push it back a day. I'll get it out and get it sounding good for you. So without any further ado, this reality remix episode of the Primitive Intelligence Podcast starts now. The Mandela Effect. This refers to a phenomenon where a large group of people remember an event, fact, or detail one way, but it's actually different from what is recorded or widely accepted. The term Mandela Effect was coined by Fiona Broome, who noticed that many people mistakenly believed Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s. When he actually passed away in 2013, he was released from prison and he died a free man. The beginnings of Mandela Effect as a concept emerged around 2010 when Broome discussed her observations on an online forum. She noticed that she and others shared memories that didn't align with historical records. The name Mandela Effect was chosen due to the widespread belief that Mandela had died in prison, contrasting with the reality of his later release and life as a political leader. Since then, Mandela Effect has become a popular subject of discussion. Since then, the Mandela Effect has become a popular subject of discussion and study, often cited as evidence of parallel universes or alternate timelines. Psychologists and cognitive scientists attribute this phenomenon to the fallibility of human memory, suggesting that shared false memories can arise due to various cognitive biases and social influences. The Mandela Effect has gained attention in popular culture and has been used to explain discrepancies in collective memory across a range of topics, from pop culture to historical events. That's the Mandela Effect in a nutshell right there. So way back in episode 407, way back in season 4, episode 407, maybe you already listened to episode 407 and you forgot the Mandela Effect conspiracy. Now, season 4 was based on conspiracy theories, and I looked at several different Mandela effects, including the initial Mandela Effect with Nelson Mandela, Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia, Ed McMahon never working for Publishers Clearinghouse. He worked for American Family Publishers, never went door to door handing out checks. That one blew my mind. Mother Teresa being canonized after her death instead of while she was still alive. The song We Are the Champions, ending with the words We Are the Champions, not of the world. The show Sex and the City, not being Sex in the City. Jiffy peanut butter, never existed. I think Jiffy is a simple mashup between Jif and Skippy. And there's a lot of them that I think are like that. Yeah, never a Jiffy. There was a Jif and a Skippy, though. Still are, as a matter of fact. Curious George, never had a tail. C-3PO from Star Wars had a silver leg. I do remember that. I always thought the silver leg came after he was disassembled and Chewbacca picked him up and put him in the backpack and was carrying him around. I do remember the silver leg sticking out, and I thought that's where he got it from, but I could be wrong. Patrick Swayze, some people remember him recovering and dying later on. He died from cancer. He never did recover. It was very sad. And then the Monopoly Man never had a monocle. Mr. Peanut did, and I think that's another mashup. So those are the ones I covered back in episode 407. So the conspiracy side of this came from the fact that people really wanted to believe that CERN had created a black hole. So the CERN Large Hadron Collider, again, it seems like a lot of conspiracies circle around, no pun intended, CERN, because it's a giant loop. But yeah, people say they created a black hole. caused a tear in space-time, and now realities are bleeding through. My conclusion to that whole thing, as far as a conspiracy, was that we would never actually know. We could never know what was true and what wasn't, because reality would have changed for some people. Well, would it have changed, though? If people were getting pulled in and merged with alternate timeline versions of themselves, and they were remembering things from another reality, it actually did happen. We'd never be able to know, though, because our memories would be corrupted. So maybe it did happen, and we just don't know. And we could never prove it one way or the other. Unless we could actually fix the timelines and be able to see both timelines or all timelines at once, which quantum physics is crazy. Who knows if that could ever happen? I guess it's possible, because pretty much anything's possible in quantum physics, but I think it would be a big order to fill to correct timelines that we had destroyed. Of course, the idea that CERN has created a black hole, which is combining realities, is pretty crazy in and of itself. Impossible? No. Improbable? Yes. So I decided it's been a while since I really looked into these. Let me see what I can find. So I found a bunch here, and I got them broken down into some that are weird, some that are just obvious, like misremembrances, and some that are just brand names that people remember wrong. And we'll talk about those. So first of all, I've got 15 here, and I pulled these from multiple different sites. The links to those are down in the description. Some of them I ignored because they were just weird. The sites I got these from, let me scroll down here real quick. Good Housekeeping, BuzzFeed, and verywellmind.com. A lot of them were duplicated amongst the different sites, and the Good Housekeeping ones, some of them were just weird, so I just skipped them. But so here we go. The first one, I'm going to do these in the order that I saw them. So that's how I wrote them down. That's how you're going to get them. Okay, so number one, the title was "Oops, I Did It Again" headset, and it says that people remember Britney Spears wearing a microphone in the video for "Oops, I Did It Again." But then it says there's also a doll sold with one. But if you rewatch the video, she never wore a headset. Was never a big Britney Spears fan. Nothing against her music, just wasn't my type of. Nothing against her, but just not my kind of music. I don't really remember. I'm sure that somewhere I saw the video. Have you ever watched a reaction video from somebody where they're listening to music and the music's 30 years old and they're like, I've never heard this before in my life. And you're like, really? Like, it's everywhere. How have you never heard this song? So I'm sure I saw the video. I couldn't tell you if she was wearing a microphone or not. I did see one explanation for this that said that there was a live performance of that song where she was wearing a microphone, which would make sense. If she was live, she had to have a microphone. So that's probably where it comes from. And that does make sense. Why would you be wearing a microphone in a video? You're lip syncing. Watch a video where they're playing music. A lot of times their instruments aren't even plugged in. It's because they're just miming to the actual recorded song. So it would make no sense for her to have a headset on in a produced video, unless it was supposed to be a produced video that was showing her doing it live. So number two, Looney Tunes. Remember the cartoons? Remember those Saturday morning cartoons? Are you old enough to remember those? Like the real Looney Tunes when they were violent, the ones I grew up with. People remember Looney Tunes being spelled Toons, like cartoons. And it's not. It's spelled Tunes, tunes, like music. And if you grew up watching them, you remember there was also a series, it was like a companion series to Looney Tunes called Merry Melodies. And it was like, I don't know exactly how they wound up. I think it was like two different animation teams. And the Merry Melodies did a lot more with music. And so Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies were companion cartoon series. That's why it was Tunes with a U, not two O's. I do clearly remember it being Looney Tunes because of the Merry Melodies. Number three, this could go into the brand name one. So number three, there's a couple here that could have fit into either category. This could be just a brand name, but I think I've got the explanation for this one. The air freshener Febreze. It's not spelled with two E's. It's not Febreze. It's only got one E after the R. So Febreze. Febreze is actually like Febreze. And here's the reasoning for this, I think. I remember when I first moved to Oliphant, living in an apartment, an upstairs apartment, old apartment, old carpeting. Everything was old. I went through a ton of Febreze in that place. It didn't really smell. It was just old. So all the carpets had that old carpet smell. And Febreze was pretty expensive. And it still is. So I would go to the dollar store and I called it fake breeze. It looked similar, but it had a name. It was almost like the same typeface and everything, but it had a different name, but it was something breeze, like air breeze or something like that. But it was spelled Breeze. And I think a lot of people would see that. It was like a knockoff version of Febreze. And I think that just carried over. Plus, it sounds like breeze. So it's an easy thing to misremember, Febreze. Number 4, another brand name. This one came from Good Housekeeping, and they actually had it listed as one of the most confounding of all. There's an A in Meyer. Meyer is spelled Mayer, not Meyer. And this one was easy to remember because I don't know if they still do. I don't really watch commercials anymore, but they used to have a song for Oscar Mayer. And in the song, you spelled it out. Oscar Mayer. I clearly remember that being M-A. Meyer is a German spelling. It's going to be weird. So number 5 is another one I could go into brand names, but there's reasons why I put it. So number 5, it looks weird, but I think it's right. Skechers, the shoes. I've owned Skechers. I don't think I still have any, but there's no T in Skechers. It's Skecher. Seems right. It looks weird, but it seems right. When they showed a logo of it with the T and without, and it didn't look right with the T. And again, I think it's just because that's the way it sounds, and that's probably how people wrote it out. Skechers, when they were talking about it, they were sending there was text back then. When Skechers first came out, were really, really popular. Yeah, we had text messages, so you probably typed it out with a T. Hey, I got my new Skechers. I don't think there was ever one. This one's kind of weird. Number 6. I was never really into Pokemon, but again, it's one of those things where it's just so ubiquitous. You always saw it. Pikachu's tail. So if you're not familiar, Pikachu is the little yellow. I don't know what it is. It's a Pikachu. It's like a cat kind of thing. Somebody's probably yelling at me right now and tell me exactly what it is. Pikachu's tail never had a black tip. It was just yellow. I think the ears have black tips on them, but not the tail. And honestly, it shows like side-by-side pictures of him. The one with the black tip looks right, but I couldn't tell you. I never played the games. I've seen it on TV, and obviously you see it all over the place, but nope, don't really remember that one. So that one, yeah, I've seen it on TV. I've seen pictures of it, and the black tip seems right on the tail, but I couldn't tell you if that's right or not. Number 7. Now, I can remember things way, way back as a kid. Like my first memory, I was probably weeks old. I remember being in a very soft blanket, being held by my grandmother. I think it was my grandmother. And being in a very blue room. Now, our living room was blue, like blue paneling, blue paint. It was very blue. So, I mean, weeks old. So when I tell you that I remember Kit Kats, because that was one of my favorite like snack candies, like treats. I remember we'd go to the little store in town and I'd get a Kit Kat. There was never a hyphen in Kit Kat. This one really bothers people. And when I get to the brand name ones, I'm going to touch more on why I think that's weird that these things bother people with brand names. But yeah, I don't understand that one. Never a hyphen between Kit and Kat. Here's another one. Cheez-It. Was it Cheez-It or Cheez-Its? People called them Cheez-Its, but I got 2 Z's in my last name. Z's stick out to me. People think there was a second Z in Cheez-It at the end of it. They thought it was Cheez-Its. I don't ever remember that. I remember the packaging not being quite so bland as it is now. But yeah, don't remember a second Z. Number 9. This one, is just common sense, I think. The Flintstones has 2 T's. Good Housekeeping was surprised by this. Of course it has 2 T's. Flintstone. They seem to think it was Flintstones. That doesn't even make sense. Everything in that cartoon, that entire universe of that cartoon, everything is rock related. Bedrock, Barney Rubble, Pebbles, Stone. Yeah, 2 T's in Flintstones. This one was weird. And this, again, some of these get to me. Number 10, the line "Play it again, Sam" from Casablanca was never said. It was never said. I think the line was, Play it once, Sam, for old time's sake. Some reason people remember it being "Played again, Sam." Who knows why? Somebody misremembered it from a movie, said it that way on TV, it stuck. I don't know. There's a lot of movie quotes like that people get wrong. Like, "Luke, I am your father" from Star Wars. Darth Vader never says, "Luke, I am your father." He's talking about his father, and Luke says, "You killed my father," and Darth Vader says, "No, I am your father." Never says, "Luke, I'm your father." He's already talking to him. He's engaged in conversation. Why would he say his name a second time? Number 12. So that was 11. So number 11. Here's another one. "Luke, I am your father." Never said it. Never said it like that. There's a fight scene. Luke's hanging by one hand, and Darth Vader's talking about his father, and Luke says, "You killed my father," and Darth Vader says, "No, I am your father." He doesn't say, "Luke, I am your father." He says, "No, I am your father." In mid-conversation, very rarely do you readdress someone's name. I don't know why you would think that would happen. It's great for context when you're talking about the movie, but in the movie itself, never says it. Number 12, another movie related. "Mirror, Mirror on the Wall." This one has me a little bit bothered because I clearly remember "Mirror, Mirror on the Wall," and I'm pretty sure this is from Snow White, the cartoon, the original cartoon. I swear it was "Mirror, Mirror on the Wall." Apparently not. It's "Magic Mirror on the Wall." That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. I don't know why. Where did "Mirror, Mirror on the Wall" come from? That one's crazy to me. Number 13. There's 2 things here that might blow your mind. Smokey the Bear. It's not Smokey the Bear. It's Smokey Bear. There is no "the." Smokey is the bear's name. Smokey Bear. That one kind of had me weirded out at first, but it makes sense. And I heard that one years ago. Smokey Bear. Here's the other thing. Smokey Bear is female. Smokey's a she. Smokey is always portrayed, though, well, as a bear. I mean, I guess Smokey is always portrayed like standing up like a human with a hat and pants. So, there's just weird stuff going all around with that one. Number 14. This one wasn't a surprise to me, but the location of New Zealand. Where do you think New Zealand is in relation to Australia? As soon as I read this, I didn't even look at a map. And they've got like a map below this. But as soon as I saw this, just the location of New Zealand, I was like, oh, it's in the bottom. If you're looking at the map, it's below and to the right. That would be the southeast. Some people think it was to the northeast. That would be like Papua New Guinea, right? Yeah. Look at the map real quick. Pretty sure to the northeast is Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, right? I know, computer. I'm asking a lot. Got the big monitor on. I'm recording, and I'm trying to run Google Maps at the same time. Yeah. So, yeah, Papua New Guinea. That's where people think New Zealand should be. That's weird. And then number 15. Some people remember Uncle Sam's hat being red and white, but it's not. It's actually white and blue. It's a white hat with blue stars. I don't ever remember a red hat on Uncle Sam. Maybe somebody depicted it that way once, but the actual "I Want You" poster, like that old war poster, he's wearing a white hat. So those are 15 of the new ones that I found that were interesting, but not all of them I remember. Maybe I'm from the other reality. Who knows? So the next group of these, some of these are just misremembering or poor historical knowledge, I guess. I got 5 of these. 2 of them are related. Alexander Hamilton is on the $10 bill. And people think, but he was never president. Yeah, it's not just presidents on money. It's never had to be. He was a treasury. He was the first secretary of the treasury. And then the second one is Ben Franklin. He's on the 100. He was never a president. Inventor. Very important to American history. But he was never a president either. There's no law that says you have to be a president to be on money. Number 3 of the poor historical knowledge or misremembering. The song from Grease is actually Greased Lightning, not Grease Lightning. Who's that's not a Mandela effect. That's just you didn't hear the duh in the song. It's always been Greased Lightning, right? Lightning's fast. Greased Lightning is faster. That one just baffled me that people would think that. Here's another one. Poor geography. South America isn't directly underneath North America on a map. No, but it is to the south. It's in the southern hemisphere. It doesn't have to be directly south from us. It does sit southeast. I don't know why that bothers people. And then number 5, this is another like movie quote, but it's just so weird that people think this is a Mandela effect. In Toy Story, Woody says, "There's a snake in my boots." People think he said, "There's a snake in my boot." Again, you just didn't hear this. Snake in my boots. That's not a Mandela effect. You just weren't listening. Okay. So those are just the ones I saw that just were like, you're just not paying attention. Now brand names. I said the next one is brand names. I'm going to go through these and I'm going to tell you what I think is going on with them. Number 1, Cap'n Crunch. It's always been CAP apostrophe N. It's never been Captain Crunch. Fruit Loops. FROOT. Always been. It's never been spelled properly. Fruit. Rice Krispies. Krispies is spelled with a K, not a C. Chuck E. Cheese, or Chuck E. Cheeses, right? So Chuck space E, like a middle initial, and then cheeses. Not Chuck E. Cheeses, but like Chuck E. Sweet Tarts only has 1 T in the middle. It's not Sweet Tarts, it's Sweet Tarts. Cup of Noodles has never been cup of noodles. It's been cup noodles. Pixie Sticks, spelled with a Y, not an IE for Pixie. Mike and Ike's, not Mike N Ike. Cliff Bars, 1 F in Cliff. And Totino's, not Tostinos. And then Febreze, I already talked about that up in the top. But here's a couple things about brand names. So the weird spellings are done for a reason. Brand recognition and copyright and trademark. You can't, it's much harder to copyright real words or trademark real words than it is to change the spelling, make it unique, and then trademark it. So weird spellings in brands, regardless of how you remember them, just make sense. But some of them, like Captain Crunch, okay, so Cap'n is like a abbreviated Captain. All right, fruit, it sounds right. It's like the cornucopia in Fruit of the Loom, which keeps coming back. Right? There's always, it circles around. Just recently it came back around where people are like, oh, there's trademark paperwork that says there's cornucopia in it. I read the trademark paperwork. It says it could have cornucopia in it, but it doesn't say that it does. There's photos going around of old shirt tags, like inside tags that have the cornucopia on it. That's really easy to fake. I've heard other people say, I've got shirts, but I can't find them. They've disappeared. It makes no sense to have a cornucopia with fruit. With harvest stuff like squash and pumpkins, yeah, maybe a plate, not a cornucopia. But these kinds of things are it has more to do with brand recognition and trademark than Mandela effects. Like Sweet Tarts. The reason why I think people think there's 2 T's in it is when you look at the logo, the T at the end of sweet and beginning of tarts is split. It's like blue and pink, like the candy colors. So it looks like there's 2 T's, but there's really not. Cup of noodles or cup noodles. I think this is another one that gets mashed up. There's also a noodle brand called Oodles of Noodles, and they got cup noodles. So I think people just put the O in there, cup of noodles. And then Totino's and Tostinos. I think there is a Tostinos something, but Totino's is Tostitos. I think that's maybe they're getting that. I think it's getting mashed up between Totino's and Tostitos. The chips. That wouldn't make sense. I just figured that one out. I'm smart. So I think that's what's going on there. And Cliff Bar, look, as a hiker, I eat a lot of Cliff Bars. There's only ever been one F in Cliff. So that was a lot of Mandela effects to go through. And there's more and more showing up every day. So the Mandela effect, it sparked various theories to explain why large groups of people collectively misremember certain details or events. What could those possibly be? All right, so there's the false memory theory. This is one of the most widely accepted explanations, and it actually makes a lot of sense. False memory occurs when people recall events differently from how they actually happened, often influenced by suggestion, misinformation, or cognitive biases. Our memories are not perfect, and they can be altered or distorted over time, leading to discrepancies between what we remember and objective reality. Basically, our memories suck. We can remember stuff. The information is probably there. We're just really bad at recalling it. And this is nothing new. It happens a lot. And regardless how good you think your memory is, you're probably wrong. The second possibility is parallel universes or alternate timelines. I discussed this in some people propose the Mandela effect is evidence of parallel universe. According to this theory, differences in collective memories could be attributed to individuals shifting between parallel realities where history unfolded slightly differently, causing discrepancies within shared memories. So it sounds crazy, but there's a growing consensus among the scientific community that alternate realities, alternate timelines, multiverse is possible. Quantum theory says this is possible. So it could be, it could very well be. Again, this isn't something we could actually prove though, because if we are shifting between realities, we've got no way of proving it. And it actually, that brings up a whole lot more questions than just the spelling of Berenstain Bears changing. There's a lot of things that would have to be answered and looked into because that changes everything. Number 3 would be quantum effects, like parallel universes, right? So theory suggests that quantum phenomenon or quantum entanglement might influence human consciousness or memory. Proponents of this idea suggest quantum fluctuations could somehow impact the human brain's ability to perceive and recall information accurately. I'm not a quantum scientist, physicist, expert, so I'm sure this is possible. And if information is written in electrons and electrons can do all kinds of crazy things with quantum physics, that's very possible. The simulation theory. Number 4, we're all in a simulation. Within the framework of the simulation theory, Mandela effect is seen as a glitch in the simulation, like the Matrix. It's a glitch in the Matrix. According to this theory, inconsistencies in collective memory could be akin to bugs or errors in a computer simulation. Again, this is something I talked about last season. The possibility that this is all simulation, that reality isn't real. Number 5, cultural influence. This one makes a lot of sense. Some explanations focus on the role of popular culture, media, and social influence, shaping collective memory. Another thing that was never said, but it's stuck with the franchise, is the original series. Kirk never said, "Beam me up, Scotty." It was said somewhere. Someone made a shirt of it, and it just stuck. Cultural influence. And you just associate it with Star Trek, so you just always assume that Kirk said, "Beam me up, Scotty." It didn't. Number 6, psychological and cognitive factors. Psychological and cognitive factors. Cognitive psychology offers insights into why groups of people might develop shared false memories. Factors such as suggestion, misinformation, confirmation bias, and source amnesia can contribute to the formation of inaccurate collective memories, like someone putting out a t-shirt that says something that was never said. Confirmation bias, you've probably recently heard this with the amount of fake news and misrepresented facts on the internet. You can go out there and find evidence to support anything that you believe. You can find it, and that's confirmation bias. You won't believe someone else's point of view, even if they're right, but you'll believe someone else if they're wrong, if it aligns with what you want to believe. Confirmation bias. And then number 7, mass hysteria, social contagion. In certain cases, the Mandela effect could be attributed to mass hysteria or social contagion. where false beliefs or memories spread rapidly within a community or society. People may adopt and reinforce erroneous memories through social interactions and discussions. I think I've talked about this before too in the podcast. There used to be a show called Mind Control with Darren Brown, and we're talking, 12, 15 years ago. And he's a mentalist. And I remember this one episode where he was out on a sidewalk and he was standing there looking up into a tree. And someone would come up to him and say, "What are you looking at?" He goes, "Oh, there's a snake in the tree." Now, there was no snake in the tree. And his belief was that if you can get one person to believe, then you can get two people to believe. If you get two people to believe, then you get three people to believe. And if you can get three people to believe, a lot more people are going to start believing because they don't want to be left out. So sure enough, he gets someone who thinks they see a snake in the tree. It takes a while. And then a third person comes along, and then another person comes along, and they look up. Now there's two people that say they see a snake in the tree. Now they want to see it, they don't want to be left out. So they might actually see it, and so on. And pretty soon you got a whole group of people looking up in a tree, looking at a snake that's not actually there, because social influence. It's amazing how easily your brain will believe something just so it's not left out. Now, remember, these are just theories. They're intriguing, but we really don't know. Could Mandela effects be real? Could it just be poor memory? Any of these are possible, and they're just fun. If there's any other Mandela effects you want me to look into, shoot me an email at podcast@primitiveintelligence.com. I'd love to look into them. There's so many of them. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of meat to these, so it's not like I can look at one and just do a whole episode. There's still a lot more for me to go out there and do. So if you like these kinds of things, let me know. I'll put together more episodes like this. I like them. I think they're fun. So that's going to do it for me for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Some of these kind of got me. Some of them I think are pretty easy to explain. That's just me, though. Let me know what you think. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your week. That's all I got. That's all I got for this episode. See ya.